Great, thank you, Jenny, for the introduction. Again, I'm Tom Wiedemann, and I am a proud NKU Norse alum, and I have been active in the Alumni Association, and I hope pretty soon you can call yourself an alum as well. So we're really lucky today to have CEOs of companies that are right here in our backyard, leaders that have worked their way up, leaders have started businesses, leaders that are making a difference in our community. So they volunteered their time here today. So let's make sure that we are actively engaging with them. I've got several questions that I'm going to ask the panel as we work through the conversation, but I hope you'll do the same. If you have something on your mind, this is a chance for you to ask someone who's been there and done that. So, so let's get started. So I think there are microphones for each of you. You can, I think we're all interested in standing up. And so yeah, so we're gonna stand. So let's start off. Maybe I'll ask the same question of each of you. Tell us your story. How did you get your start in business, and what brought you to this role today? So Sarah, let's start with you.
Okay. I started with LPK in 1996, so I've been there coming up on 23 years next year. And I started as a co-op in finance. So I'll make my plug right now. Co-op is pretty important. It's an awesome way to get started at an organization, and I learned a tremendous amount from my co-op opportunity. I co-opted in finance, I co-opted on the account side, and ultimately chose to take a job on the account side. Spent many years of my career working on new clients with our organization. I moved into operations for a couple years, and then into my role as CEO. So I've glossed over a lot there, and I know we'll get into some more detail, and I think the part of the story I just want to emphasize is the importance of co-op, the education that I was able to get and the understanding of the business. Think about how competitive you would be against other folks who are interviewing for that same job who don't have that inside knowledge.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. So I just want to echo that. I got my first career job right here. I was a business major here at NKU. Saw one of those little posted cards. I'm not sure if that's still how you do it, but that's how we did it 110 years ago when I was in college. But there was a little posted card that listed a bunch of jobs, and I saw one that I thought was a good co-op match for me. I started my career, and 29 years later at AAA, I'm leading the organization. So I completely agree with Sarah. This is where it all happens. You've got CEOs coming here to talk to you, you've got business opportunities, and you should take advantage of all the resources that are here for you. So anyway, Gary, same thing. Tell us about your story, how you got started and how you wound up where you are today.
So I never had a real job. When I saw an opportunity, I was with my father. I'd follow him around to small business owners, and he did a lot of insurance work for small business owners in our community. And it just so happened one day a person from Target was at an electrician's office, and I was doing applications in the back of the room, and he talked about all the vendors he had to hire. And he thought if somebody could just get all of these different service types together and maintain the quality of it, I would sign on in a minute. So I thought at that point, that's like the HMO of maintenance. Instead of doctors, I'll go hire all the vendors, bring them together in a very organized fashion and go to work. And so I met with this individual. I called him, said, hey, can I meet with you? Can we explore this? I spent the next year exploring that, and I got my 3 best friends and brother and to quit their jobs, and we just all went to work. And from there, just started here in Cincinnati. Went to work Walmart Alexandria was my first customer, Joe DeHart. And from there, we work for about 2,500 Walmarts across the country today, and any other retail store you can think about.
So Gary, from the time that you started that idea to today, how long did that take?
I mean, we're not done, so it's so far 20 years, but it takes forever. I mean, it's you make a lot of mistakes. Looking back, I could have made it a lot faster, Tom, if you know what I mean. But you make mistakes, and you have to grow in your business. So you start, and you're doing everything yourself. You don't have, employees or interns or co-ops or anything. You're just doing it all yourself, every bit. But then you have to scale, and it's like, can I teach others to do this, and what does that require? And just all the assets you have to build and invest in so that you can do this, bigger and bigger way. So, yeah, I could probably do it a lot faster today than I did it back when I was 23 or 22 years old.
But you did make a mistake or two along the way? Right.
Still do today.
Right.
Probably
Right.
today. Yeah,
Right.
there's no doubt.
Understood. Thank you. Okay, Lynn.
So I'm a founder and a CEO of Step Transportation. I started my company 23 years ago in my basement so that I could have more quality time with my family. The 10 years prior to that, so 30-some years ago, I was a purchasing agent for a chemical distributor, and I worked in sales for a tank truck company. And 23 years ago, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but that's kind of the beginning of the wave of brokering, and I saw a need to coordinate transportation for the chemical industry. So that's our pitch. I saw a lot of things happen over the years, and I'm 23 years old and still learning and making mistakes. I'm open to any questions you have. I started in my basement with a folding chair and a table, and I think it was an IBM 386 and maybe a pager. And my business development was my husband traveled for a living, so he tore out the yellow pages in every city he was in for chemical companies and brought them home to me, and I cold called. So I grew that way, and eventually I got so busy I could never leave, and the quality of life wasn't there anymore. So I made my first hire. I found a guy that used to call me to haul his freight, and he's like, tell me about this brokering. And so I did, and it took me about 6 months to get him to trust my vision. And he's still with me today for about 21 years. A lot of lessons along the way. So today we employ 25 people, and we're about a $17 million company.
Great, thank you. When you talked about hiring someone, what are the qualities you look for?
I look for people that are positive. Some of the first questions we ask in the interview process are open-ended to see how the applicant responds, and if their first responses are negative, that's not going to work in our culture. So positive people, we hire for culture, and we can teach trucking.
Great, thank you. So Gary, you said you hired your best friends and your brother?
That was before I had to pay people.
Right. Right. So what sort of qualities do you look for once you look beyond your friends and family?
I'm looking for a commitment. I'm looking for a track record of success. And I'm looking for grit.
Great. Anyone have grit in the room? That's great. Well, if you're getting through college courses, you've got grit, I know. Okay, so Sarah, what are the 2 or 3 leadership principles that you employ to be successful in your role?
I'll start with an African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's absolutely true of agency work. Everything that we do is in a team, and if you can't work effectively in a team, you can't work in an agency. And I think that probably applies in a lot of different contexts. The second thing I would say is treat others how you want to be treated, which sounds very simple, but you'd be surprised how often that doesn't happen. And in my experience, if you show up, if you work hard, if you build relationships, treat other people well, they're going to help you succeed. If you're struggling and you haven't built that foundation or you don't have those relationships, you're not going to be able to get the help that you need to get through whatever it is that you're struggling with.
Great, thank you. Gary, how would you answer that? Leadership principles that make a difference for you?
I would say anything. We have like a PAC statement at our office, and you get in situations where you don't have the answer for everything, and then you just have to, you either have to go up or down. But it's core values, and doing what your gut, what we were taught at a very young age to do, and that's take care of people and make the right decisions and be kind, generous, and it'll come back around and help you in the long term. Sometimes they're not the most popular decisions or the most the best financial decisions, but they're worth it in the long run.
Gary, you just mentioned core values, and you mentioned be kind and generous and good to people. Are those formal core values that you have, or is that just part of your culture?
Ours is our formal core values is a pact, and it's a passionate, accountable, commitment, and trustworthy. And those are the 4 things that we try to point out every 90 days and think of new ways that we can live these things every day in our work, because it's required to build the business.
Yeah, great. So Lynn, what are some of the most important decisions that you make every day as the leader of your company?
Most important decisions are financial and probably strategy. As the leader of the organization like these guys, you need to be able to get out and take a look and forecast into the future, and that really revolves around finances and making sure the cash flows are good, and the company's bottom line is healthy to get ready for growth.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Sarah, how about you? What are the most important decisions you make as a CEO?
I would second that, and I would add they're people related. As a CEO, it's really critical that you surround yourself with the right team, that you understand what your strengths are and where you need help, and definitely hire in the places where you need help. So I think I would just add people to the list. I think it's critical.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So Gary, were there some important people in your life that helped you along the way, mentors, way back then, today? Can you talk about that?
Sure. No, there's no less than 50. There could be 100. It depends on what I was trying to do and where. And, you know, I was lucky enough to meet people and fortunate enough to have, I guess, you know, courage to ask for help. And when you ask for help and people give you help, you know, it's never really failed me. And then I try to, if something worked for me, I would try to close the loop with that individual and say, thanks, this is the impact you made, you know, for me. And then they feel like they're part of your success, or at least I want them to feel like they're a part of my success, because they are. And then I can continually call on them for help, depending on what their expertise is or what it is I'm facing that moment. So I have a whole treasure trove of people that I call upon that will help get me out of trouble. And I appreciate them very much.
Dylan, how about you?
I would expand on that too. It's just the people that you take with you along the way, whether they're peers, other CEOs, other business owners, other leaders in our community. It's important to surround yourself with people that are either better than you or at least as good as you are and impart the same values. Then you have a network to go to when you're in the weeds, you know, and say, what the heck do I do about this? Or what'd you do when this happened? So a big impact on me has been the Entrepreneurs Organization. They're a group of peers that desire to learn and grow personally and professionally, and I learned a lot there as I navigated scaling my business.
Yeah, so it's the Entrepreneurs Organization, right?
Right.
And I know Gary and Sarah both belong to something called YPO, the Young Presidents Organization, and so do I, by the way. And I think it's an example of how important it is to have those connections, because as you start to move into leadership roles, sometimes people start telling you what they think you want to hear. And when you can have a network like that, it helps them ground you a little bit. I know I've been grounded by my YPO colleagues before. So Sarah, how important is that network to you, and have you used it? Not just the YPO network, but you know, that colleague mentor network.
I think it's critical. I've been in my role for 3 years, and there are a lot of books you can read. There's a lot of advice that you'll get, but nothing really truly prepares you for running a company until you're sitting in that seat and having to go through the experience of doing it. So YPO has been a phenomenal gift. I've been in the organization just a little over a year, absolutely using it and still figuring out how to continue to benefit from it.
Yeah, and it works to grow your business as well. And I have clients that have been my mentor, and I would say, look, I want to get into this side of the business, or I want to perform this. What does it take? Can you help me? And you weren't really asking directly for their business, but at the end, you'll end up getting it because you're going to design something that works for them and that you can sell to many people. But along the way, they've really helped you out, and they're willing to do it. I mean, they're willing to help as long as I've never not been denied help asking for it.
I mean, if I can expand on that again, I think just this network, talking more candidly about the things that happen to us as leaders in our companies and not having anywhere to go. You're kind of on your own up there. And just having that peer network to talk about when you're making a big hire, like the first 6-figure chief operating officer, or when you're letting that person go. and why, and how does that happen? What does it look like? And there are likely those in their organization or my organization that have gone there before us and can share that experience. And it happens. Navigating just different market disruptions or natural disasters, depending on what your company does, can be very tricky as you're trying to grow your business and stay, financially healthy.
Yeah, thank you for that. So how about the other way around? I asked about networks that are peer, and maybe the first question was mentors that you've had that have helped you along the way. So how have you turned that? How have you paid that forward? Do you have some examples of that? Sarah, why don't we start with you?
Sure. We have a leading edge program that we developed at LPK, and the whole point is for the leadership of our organization to pay it forward to the folks in our organization. So there are 10 modules. It's a 10-month course. We put what we think are future leaders into that course, and then each executive leads a different topic each month. So we're continually evolving the curriculum based on what we feel like we need and continually pushing for folks to make sure that they're engaging in that way. And it also helps us to build relationships with people within our organization in a more deeper, meaningful way and outside of the day-to-day work.
In fact, Gary, how about you?
Yeah, so, participation in anything like this or the YPO or any way you can give back is a good thing. And within the organization itself, we use a platform called Workplace, which I'm sure many of you know about, but it allows us to communicate and interact with folks at a higher, I think, success rate than them having to call you directly. Many, for whatever reason, will have reservations picking up the phone and calling me and saying, hey, what can I do with this problem? Maybe, it could be that they're embarrassed or they don't want me to know, they don't know how to do something, or who knows. But in the workplace, you can see these interactions between people, and then you can just kind of jump in and offer help or type a message to them, say, hey, come see me, or hey, I've done this, and here's this document that could help you out, or call this person who's an expert. That's helped us tremendously. Just communicate and pass down a really wealth of knowledge that we have within the organization.
Thank you. So before I get to my next question on the list, are there any questions from the audience? Anything that these CEOs have said or any questions they've answered that have spawned any questions on your part? Okay, let's start right here.
When you spoke about co-op, you guys, I don't know how to ask the question, but I applied to co-op. Because of my age, I feel like people have this missing. They're looking for someone that's 20 or 21. What would you advise me to do going forward with these co-ops? I feel like I get to a certain spot and I can't get any further than that. They see me as my age. They don't want to.
Yes. So your question was, you've been applying to co-ops and you feel like your age is potentially a barrier. So the first thing I would say is if you can get feedback from any of the folks that you've interviewed with, typically I would hope that they would give that to you, and I would take advantage of that coaching. I would always ask for what could I have done better, what are some other, is there something you didn't see in my portfolio that you would want to see? And I guess the other thing that I would say is you could use that to your advantage as well. You probably have life experience that other folks may not have, and there may be some things that you can bring into that co-op, life experience, work experience, that could be pretty appealing. So maybe flip the mindset to, instead of it being a detriment, how is it beneficial and how does it differentiate me in a positive way, and kind of go at it like that would be my advice. I know that we hire folks, we hire a pretty diverse group of folks each time, and I know that folks who come in with work experience definitely have an easier time getting started than when it's your first time out. Not a reason to pick somebody over the other, but I do think it gives you a leg up in some ways.
Right here.
So earlier when you guys were talking about experience as being like a value for potential employees, would you consider things like internships or co-ops like valued experiences if it's not particularly with your business? So like say it's in the same field but not particularly with your company, is that still valued?
Yes, absolutely. I think any work experience outside of just classroom is good to give you a feel for what it's like in an office, how to interact with a team. We don't look for only interns that have interned in logistics or trucking, for sure.
And for us, it's not like what you do, it's how you did it. And did you win? Do you have a track record of winning? We're in. Like it's just how you play the game. You know, and those are examples. Every one of those experiences is an example of how you played that game.
And by the way, if you ever get to know Gary Mitchell, you'll know that's exactly how he works every day, winning and getting there the right way. So anyone else? Who has the microphone? Jenny so let's hear on the end.
Which one? Where am I going? Oh.
So if you could be nice to Jenny and ask questions when she's near you with the microphone, that'll be better.
So is this thing on? Yeah, it's on. I recently started my own company where I give T-shirts that donate 20% to the World Wildlife Fund. We help with animal endangerment awareness, basically through stickers, T-shirts, just all sorts of apparel. I just throw it on there and make a profit, essentially, and it's for the right reason. I actually quit my internship this summer that I had with Verizon. I applied to 30 different internships. I had a great internship. I was a marketing manager, and I quit to help my company because I need more attention. My question for you guys is, how can I go to the next level with my company? Like, how can I boost it to perform at a level that's going to get more cash flow, more employees, just the next level? How do I get there?
I would want to know more about where you are now, like how many staff you have, how many shirts you're doing, what the cost is, what the source of your product is. There's a bit more information I'd like to know. But if you want to learn and grow, then I would say find either a book, or you can email me if you want, and I'll connect you to someone. That's no problem. I think my email might be in my bio. I'm not sure. But it's Lynn, Lynn, @stet.net.
I'm not, I don't know all the specifics or what you do. I can share with you what I've done. And one of the things I did is I prospected the 20 biggest clients that I could possibly have for my company. Nobody on earth in my business was allowed to call on anybody else. Only those 20 people. And I'm still a gnat when it comes to market share with any of those customers. Now we call on anybody and everybody. But back then, it was about focus. So potentially you could prospect who those biggest customers are. Somebody that you can get in and master their roles, master how to service that customer, and then grow it from there. Just earn your one little opportunity and turn it into a huge opportunity. It's whale hunting, right? You don't have the resources right now to deploy a 100-person sales force. So you just have to go, hey, let's grind it out here day to day to pay the bills, and then go whale hunting somewhere, all right, and make those happen.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I got her.
So you were talking about mistakes earlier. When you experience mistakes or setbacks, how do you keep that from crushing your business, and how do you use that to your advantage in the future?
You want me to take this one too?
I'll say a saying I say around my office, but you can take it, and I'm happy. What you do next is what matters. The mistake is the mistake, as long as you learn and grow and change the behavior if you want a different outcome.
Yeah, and I would say, early on, you would take these things, I would take things, in my opinion, maybe too serious, and give myself way too hard. It'd take me a week, 2 weeks to recover from something, where today I'm like, I've been through so much. It's all that happened. And some people freak out, and I'm like, wow, that's normal. That's a big deal. Yeah, that's cost a lot of money, but we've been through it, done it. Yes, that customer's fired us before. Sure, $20 million customer, but there's another one that we're going to get next month or next quarter. So it's tough, and the key is just live in the moment, live in the present, and try not to beat yourself up, because you're only holding yourself back in those moments. And I think as I've grown and gotten older, I've learned that the hard way.
I would just add to that, own it. We're all going to screw up. We know it's going to happen. Nobody's perfect. So when you do, own it, learn from it. And if you're willing to do that more openly, then everybody around you is going to learn from that mistake, so that your entire company is not repeating the same thing over and over again. I think the owning it is how you keep it from happening.
I have a couple of specific examples I'll do really briefly if you guys want to hear. So a couple of things that happened during the life of my company that really impacted me and my decisions, and what happened next is what mattered. One of the chemical plants that I serviced, I think it was in 2009 or 10, I was watching the TV and they were burning to the ground, and they owed me, I don't know, $150,000, $200,000, and I was a mom in the basement. So I'm watching this, and I don't think I'm allowed to say what I was saying in here, so I'll keep it clean. But it was, so I'm like, so I gave myself like 15 minutes to feel sorry for myself, and I went back down and I started calling for the next opportunity while I was calling to make sure my friends were safe in this plant that was burning to the ground. And then I remained diligent and in touch with them to collect all of my money, and they did pay me off. It took them almost a year to rebuild and pay me back. But I just went after the next piece of business. During 2009-10, the economic downturn, I hadn't been real diligent about checking my customers' credit scores and keeping track of that. And I had 3 or 4 people go bankrupt. So I, again, still mom in the basement, right? And I'm like, oh man, what do I do now? So I went to the bank and I'm like, hey, I can't pay my vendors on time. Can you help me out? And so I got my first line of credit probably in 2010, and it bridged that gap while I went back out after the next business, and I just absorbed those losses. So hopefully those examples help.
Thank you.
So earlier when you mentioned when you're first starting your business and you're really like hiring on your clientele and like getting your team together, has there ever been a situation where you had to choose between being loyal or like with your like people you started with and like people that are better than you, or like they're more skilled than the people you have, and how did you deal with it?
Sure. Yeah, this job is the best and worst job sometimes in the same day. And letting people go is probably the hardest decision. And I have let people go who were a big part of my career in teaching me things. But as your business changes, as the economics of your business change, as your client list changes, you have to adapt. So you have to make those hard calls. And I think how you make them and how you handle it is important and will dictate whether or not you can maintain that relationship or not. But it happens, and it's not fun.
Same, when you start a business, I think third year we were at $5 million, and I hired an undergraduate to be our controller, and that worked for a $5 million company. It's not going to work for a $50 million company. Then you get to $150 million. And the director that you hired 3 years ago, if they're not growing with the business as fast as the business, and that's very hard to do with the strategies, their ability to add value sometimes, diminishes. But it doesn't mean they're not going to be, a success. We want to help everybody, achieve whatever it is they, want to achieve. So you have to sit down with them and make hard choices, and you have to for the betterment of the entire organization, because you need those skill sets. You need skill sets and you need experience. And when you start a business, you can't afford experience. It's just not affordable. People like Sarah's going to take them from you. They compete at a higher level than we do. But you can hire talent, and you can hire somebody that really wants to get after it, and then hopefully they they grow with you in the business, and you can stay. But you do have to make tough choices on who's on your team. My most important role is on who's on the team. I feel like, and it's a big responsibility.
Next question.
Assuming you attained it from a source other than yourself, where would you say you got the mental strength to start and continue a business?
I hired my friends and my brother because I could, just didn't have the courage to do it by myself, right? It's like you have to have something there to bounce somebody to bounce ideas off of, or, to be in this fight, it's hard to do it on your own. I give kudos to the people that can start a business all by themselves. I could have never gotten here without my partners. There's just not going to happen. And we did it, together for that time period. And it also brought a lot of accountability to the organization. When you're working for yourself, it isn't that, maybe at least in my experience, I don't hold myself that accountable, just day to day. But when you're working for others and people that you really admire and love, you're going to work hard, and you're not going to miss the goals. And I would advise anybody starting a business to build some kind of platform like that gets your fire going every day, because it's hard to get just on your own. It's a very lonely place, in many ways, especially if you're traveling and running around the country.
Thank you for the question. Anyone else?
Hello. What would you say, or what advice would you give to us as like those that are looking for those first steps, like right out of college? And like, let's say some people don't have success finding an internship, or whether you do have one, like what are those like first initial steps you think were crucial in your success?
Two things. First, I would suggest that whatever business that you want to go into, make sure it's something that you want to do for at least 40 hours a week, let's be honest, a lot more, right? So something you should have passion about. And one of the questions I always ask in interviews, we're hiring a lot of creative people, and I'm always asking how they're inspired outside of work, what they're creating on their own, and I want to see examples of them doing that outside of just what they're getting paid for, right? So I think you can pursue things personally that can help you in your professional life. And then the second thing I would say is make connections. We all keep talking about how many people have helped us to get to where we are. So your teachers are a really great resource to make some connections, coming to events like this and reaching out to us. We've already had one example of an offer of help. I would just look beyond just applying to a specific job to make those connections, because you never know where that opportunity will come from. I can tell a quick story. I had a professor who actually recommended that I apply for the co-op that I just told you about, which is how I got my job. And if you want to take a look, there's a TED Talk called Lollipop Moments, and the point of the talk is to tell people when they've helped you. So I reached out to her a couple months ago and said, hey, I don't know if you remember this or not, but that co-op job you suggested to me, well, I stayed there for 22 years, and now I'm the CEO. We ended up having breakfast and a nice connection, but I tell that to say, if those people help you, tell them that, and that will keep you connected, and they'll continue to help you. Just like Gary mentioned, most people are really happy to help, and they want to. So I would take advantage of that.
Great. Okay, more questions?
Yes. What college majors will best prepare me for a position at your company?
So I hear there's a fantastic supply chain major starting here at NKU, there are logistics degrees popping up all over the country. So I think one of the best skills would be selling and negotiation skills.
Depends on what you want to do. You need some type of design degree and a portfolio if you want to work on the creative side. A business degree or a communications degree or something regarding negotiation and influence would be helpful if you want to work on the account side. If you understand data, I don't know what that degree would be called, because when I went to school, that really wasn't a thing, right? But if you have the capacity to understand and then translate, you're going to be valuable in any business.
Yeah, for me, it's about how, it's not necessarily about what, and when I speak in like a general sense. But with where we're going and how we're utilizing technology in the maintenance world, if you can marry a business acumen with any type of IT, data, analytics, and you can sit down and solve big problems in a very quick amount of time, you're invaluable. So if you can put that in your back pocket, so we were talking about like how do you get your start, I would look at how do you get my start with the less risk, like how do I eliminate my risks when I start a business. And one of the things you do is you make good grades, right? I didn't make good grades. You don't do what I did. Because when I don't make good grades in college, that closes a door, or at least keeps one half shut. Another thing's a co-op or intern. I didn't do a co-op or intern, but that opens doors. It gets you experience for free. You can do it while you're in college. Eliminates risks. And then you get ready, you can open a door and start your own business, but you can always fall back on something. And in my case, advantage or disadvantage, there was no falling back on, hey, I'm going to go work for P&G. That just wasn't that wasn't in the cards, or KPMG, or a big accounting firm. Because those routes, those companies are wonderful in that you're getting a world-class education while you're working for those organizations. I hope to be able to provide that more and more as my company grows with scale and our resources, because it really is, it's an invaluable experience for anybody that goes on those journeys. You come back or you leave those, those organizations, and you're a machine as far as, being capable of doing certain things and starting a business and having confidence in any one of the big accounting firms or any one of the great organizations we have here in Cincinnati.
I just to further elaborate, because I think this is a really important point about the data analytics you were talking about. That's something the College of Business, we are right now formalizing some programs and things in the area. Can you give specific examples of how you might use data in your everyday company to drive decisions or strategy?
So most of our customers are CPG companies, and they want to understand what you, their consumer, wants, needs, et cetera. They want to understand your habits, and they have reams and reams and reams of that data, and we need to translate that into a creative output to just really simplify it. And someone's ability to take the stacks of information that exist, to call that down into something that is an actionable insight and communicate it in a way that we can develop a creative product against that is really critical and compelling, and not a lot of people have that skill. So it's differentiating.
And I would say in the world of sales, if you know a lot more about your customer through the data gathering process, you know the profile of an individual who, let's use AAA for example, the profile of someone that will buy a cruise or that fits into a certain insurance category, we've gotten so much smarter about targeting those sales efforts. So we're not throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall and hoping we get a 2% return. Now we know much better through data who is much more likely to buy our products and services.
You guys mentioned the importance of the first interview, but just how important is your guys' first impression on someone, and what is the key characteristics you guys look for that'll impact you in that first impression?
Sure. Positive attitude first. If you get to round 3 and I get invited to the interview, I'm going to ask an open-ended question. And if your first response is like, oh, my dog died last week, or we're struggling through this family issue, I don't know. It's just, it's not that I don't care about that, but for a first impression, that's not good. I think people should show up looking good. I'm not a fan of someone showing up in capris and flip-flops. In fact, I tell my team not to waste their time. If you really want the job, you have to set yourself apart. So you should look at, well-groomed, sharp. Suits are good in my world. Even though we're truckers and we don't wear suits every day, first impressions are good.
When she said that, I thought about the Amazon campus I was recently at, and there's a lot of flip-flops, and there's a lot of shorts, and...
That's okay after you get the job, right?
Yes. I wonder if they do wear that in the interview. That would be interesting to see.
I have had that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first impression, I try not to have one, honestly. I mean, it's just been so wrong so many times that I just try not to have a first impression. I mean, besides the, obvious,
This might go without saying, but don't cuss. I've had that, like, more words or words that I wouldn't use in front of a client than that I would, right? So I think just choose your words wisely. Think about that. When you're more comfortable with someone later, you can let loose a little more. But in the interview, I'm definitely thinking about a client that you're going to be in front of and how are you going to be representing the company when we're meeting.
The realities are, if you're going to be next to 10 other candidates for one job or 50 other candidates for one job, sometimes you will only get a first impression chance. So I suggest that for the most part, it matters a lot.
I'll add one more thing. I had an interview where I asked one question and the candidate spoke the rest of the hour. So there wasn't a hire there. I would also just say clear, concise answers and make sure that the interviewers get a chance to ask all their questions. And I would also have some questions prepared too.
I was watching this TED Talk, and they said they estimated around 70% of working Americans are unsatisfied with the industry or the work that they're doing. Do you guys see that within the industry that you're in? And then how do you think someone can take steps towards being proud of what they do or being proud of the day-to-day?
I hear a lot of people are unhappy in my industry, so we try to do things differently. In a logistics firm or a brokerage house, a lot of companies require that the operations team manages the entire piece from sale to load board management to account for it. So in my company, I don't want all the turnover. I've created a sales team, they just sell, an operations team that operates, and an accounting team that accounts for it. So I just try to differentiate myself from the other people in the industry, and we're gaining ground and getting a better reputation that we treat our people that way. Best place to work in Cincinnati, I think the 5th or 6th year in a row. So it's working. We feed them on Friday too. We cater lunch on Friday. Nobody else is doing that in the logistics world, so, or at least not that I heard yet.
That's why it's so important. You heard the CEO say earlier that find something you're passionate about. Because if you don't match passion with your skill, you very likely can end up in a place where you're 10 years in it and you want to get out of it and you're not really satisfied with what you do. So I'd say find what gets you fired up in the morning. So, you want the back row right here.
So early on in starting your company, what adversity did you all face? And then how did you overcome maybe disadvantages in your industry starting out? So like starting out, you're maybe smaller than the people that you're going up against. How would you overcome that and make up the gap?
Sure. So at the time, the word outsourcing wasn't even like talked about in a popular way or even known. Like the word outsourcing just wasn't talked about at college. It wasn't, taught to us. And and I had like walked into stores and said, hey, I want to take over 23 different services that you hire independently now. And they'd look, okay, where's your equipment? I don't have any equipment. And they thought, well, like, you look like a used car salesman. How are you going to do the lot sweeping or the landscaping? And I said, well, I got these processes to hire these folks. And how I overcome that was with a lot of mistakes and going on hundreds of sales calls and watching the reactions that people had to me and then making adjustments for it until it would work at a higher level of success so I could save some time and call on more people. But at the end of the day, you have to be trustworthy. You know, they have to hire you, and I tried to focus on that. I wasn't going to let them down. I might have been on the lot at 5 in the morning before they got there, or I knew what parking spot they were in and would meet them halfway into the store and say, what do you think about this? But once, you know, they would give me that opportunity, I was grateful for it, and I want to deliver. And even today, I have trouble delivering, but I'm going to master whatever it is I need to master to not make that same mistake or make our clients feel like, you know, we're delivering for them. So I would just say a lot of mistakes go in the door. I spent so much time the first year, you know, building these goofy little folders and making sure my logo was perfect, and all this stuff doesn't mean a damn thing. We'll start walking in places, start talking to people, pick up the phone, leave the folders at home, and start asking people, would you consider doing this for me and giving me this opportunity? And, you know, one day somebody will, and you're off to the races from there, because then from there you use that person as your testimonial, right? So Joe DeHart, Walmart Alexandria, he's responsible for 2,500 stores today. It started with him. Then he went to his meeting and said, guys, I got a new company. Doesn't own anything, but he's going to make sure the vendors stay in line and make sure he delivers on what he said he's going to do. So then it was just this region. Then it was the whole state of Ohio, and then on and on and on.
I think you said earlier too, in another question that was asked, just start small, just one piece at a time. So you get that first customer and you do a good job, and then they'll refer you. And don't be afraid to ask for the referral, that next referral. And even if you screw up the first time, and it happens, own it. Own it. Have the tough conversations, and they won't even believe that you were big enough to call them even when you screwed up and ask for the next piece of business and tell them what you're going to do differently.
Being in the highest leadership position that you all are in, what is one or a few things that you guys do to keep company morale high among employees and everything like that?
I can start. So employing a number of creative folks who just can't help but continuously to create things. We obviously get briefs from our clients, and we need to follow the strategy that we've established, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a lot more fun to be able to create whatever you want, whenever you want, right? So we look for opportunities for them to express themselves creatively. One of those opportunities is we do a design blitz once a year. So we pick a couple nonprofits who have a need for our services. There's a vetting process, and then folks work 24 hours straight on whatever they need. There's a big reveal the next day. So they're able to get their creative juices flowing, to deliver something for folks who need it, who are unbelievably appreciative. And then there's a very visible reveal to the company the next day where they can showcase their talent. So that's one of a variety of different ways. One of our values, Gary was talking about values before, is Fly Your Freak Flag. And what we mean by that is be yourself. So there's also a number of events throughout the year that could be non-traditional, where we're trying to find a way to bring folks together, let them be themselves, express themselves creatively. So there's always a theme. It's always very well executed. Parties are fun at a creative agency, and we just provide a place for people to do that and really empower folks to take that on. Nobody wants to come to the party that I plan. They want the budget to plan the party themselves.
You don't give good parties, Sarah?
Yeah. No, they have better ideas.
Well, I'll answer that question for my company. We have 5,000 employees in 14 states. So engaging our associates to make sure that they feel part of our company is really important and difficult to do, given vast array of states. And by the way, it's a pretty tough job on me, right? It's a post-winning, so we know when we have the talent, we got to keep them. And what we found is that, first of all, we want to communicate frequently about how the company's doing, and then we try to make sure that every associate, no matter where they are in the organization chart, understands how they are connected to the organization's big objectives. So, is that better? Okay. What kind of signal? Right, okay. So we are, we find it critically important that we communicate frequently. And then we have one important thing that we do every month, and we have this basket of ideas. It's called an idea drop. Do any of you use idea drop, by the way? So it's a software where an associate, no matter where they are, can give some feedback on how our company can be better. And so we follow up on each one of those and implement many of them so they know that they're making a difference. You have a follow-up? So are you setting me up here? Is that what's... That's so nice of you to say, and he's not a plant. Outstanding. Well, first of all, you're at a great location of ours. The Red Bank store, this is a plug for my company for a second, over off of Red Bank Road, close to Madison, is a fairly new store. We got a great leader there, and I'll bet I can speak for all of you. The leader makes such a difference, right? We have 110 locations, and the most successful ones are the ones that have a really good leader on location. So thank you for that.
How important it is to like love what you're doing or like being passionate. In my case, it's like I'm a sports business major, so it's really, really competitive to get into the like field. So would you guys recommend it being beneficial to get like a different career in like a business thing and then work your way into sports, or like how do you go about getting into a competitive market?
So I grew up, my family was in the insurance business, and that's a highly competitive, I feel like it's a highly competitive business that requires you to put in a lot of effort up front, maybe 10 years before you can actually say you make it. And from there on, it's a great career, but those early years you really have to put in. So I would just, consider how long it takes you to get there, and you're young, so you have maybe that time now to put in, not later, but I don't know how that works in that specific industry, but you would just maybe want to consider, do you put in the time now and benefit later, or can you make a big impact right off the bat? And maybe you can do two things at once, and then when that takes off, get rid of the thing you don't like.
I just think in any industry it would be good to find a problem to solve. If you can see a bottleneck that's occurring in your field or some differentiator that'll set you apart, what are you going to do differently? Why you?
First, I would make sure that the people that you're working for know that, right? They understand where you are in your college career, when your graduation date is, and start those conversations. Hopefully you have a mentor within the organization that could help you as well, understand what the hiring cycles might be. I know in our organization, typically we're hiring in the spring and at the end of the year if we're looking to bring co-ops on, because that's when graduation dates are. So if you could plug into, I don't know where you specifically work, right, and how that works, but hopefully you have a mentor that could help you navigate that process. I think you're also very competitive. If it's a large organization, you're probably going to still have to interview, even though you're currently working there. So I would also take advantage of people that you might be able to role play with, have them ask you specific questions. You might even be able to figure out what the standard ones are before you go into that interview, and you obviously have a leg up.
Hi, yes. So this is directly for Sarah and Gary here, who are in the Young Presidents Organization. I kind of wanted just to learn a little more about that. How has that helped you guys shape more professionally and personally as someone who kind of aspires to be in that position one day?
I can start. I've spent my whole career working in a team, and when you have this role, you might be part of a leadership team, but you really don't have a team anymore, and you are on your own. The buck stops with you. So I feel like I have a team again. you get in the Young Presidents Organization in YPO, you get sorted into forums, which are small groups of people. You have confidentiality agreements, and they become your team. They become your personal board of advisors. They become your lifeline. I have a meeting with 2 members of my forum in a couple weeks to help me with a particular problem. So I would just say I think about them as my team.
It's a confidential resource that you can reach out, that they've been through many more things that I've ever been through. So you would call on that knowledge, and you're going to hear the wrong ways to do it, right? Because they've done that, and you're going to hear a few ways that it worked out the way they wanted it to. So you take all that and you make decisions. So it's another place to call for help that's a little more confidential, which is helpful also.
I have 2 questions, actually. One is, what kind of marketing, digital marketing tools that you use for your companies? Okay.
Digital marketing tools.
We do not. Trucking is still pretty archaic, so we get most of our business by talking at chemical trade shows to be like position ourselves as the expert in the transportation industry on the, so we don't really do a lot of digital marketing.
When you say digital marketing tools, are you referring to platforms like Facebook or one of those? Could you be more specific so I can?
Any marketing tools like digital, like Facebook, Google Ads, anything like this?
Yeah, so for recruiting, especially Facebook has been just an amazing tool to reach a certain audience. When we're recruiting vendors in a particular place, Facebook allows us to kind of narrow down who is a plumber in a specific zip code, and we can blast out and touch. I mean, it's amazing. You can touch 50,000, 200,000 people overnight with a small ad. It's tremendous.
I'm sure all of us have a website with an SEO strategy, and then LinkedIn we use quite frequently.
So I would answer this a couple of ways. One is it's important for our company to interact with our customers the way customers want to be interacted with. And I know that a lot of you would much prefer not to sit on a call center line and call us, and you prefer to interact with us some other way. So while I'll call this a digital marketing tool, we've been developing an app that allows you to do as much AAA business as you can. So if that's your choice, and you know how important that is, we're going to keep engaged with. So do you have a second question?
Yeah, please. This question is for the logistics companies and carriers. I just started my own company 2 years ago, which is like a retail company, online company. I tried to get like a contract with like carriers companies. Some of them, they just like give like a long way process, which is hard to provide the requirements. I just got like one company only. So is there another way to get like more contract with another companies? Like as a retailer, I need like a good price, a good cost, like for like carrying my product to the customers and bring stuff like products actually from like different countries, like for example from China, from United States.
Yeah, if you can call my company and they can coordinate North America logistics for you, and then I can connect you to some freight forwarders that do international transportation. I restrict my brokers to North America. If you don't want to go through a third party like a logistics firm, you can go to places like Carrier 411 or Safer Watch or DAT are some websites you can use to search for carriers. And if you're shipping clothing, it might be that your commodity is higher dollar value than the carriers that you're touching. Their insurances, I think the maximum on a truckload is $100,000 usually. So if you need a higher limit on the insurance for cargo and liability, damage, loss, you might be able to find that better through those websites that I just mentioned if you want to go direct.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so being that you all are like the highest position in your companies, how do you balance work life and like personal time for yourself or like time with your families?
Calendar. I actually schedule my workout times. I schedule dinners, lunches, and any administrative assistants that have access to my calendar do not have access to those times that are blocked off. But the things that are open, I'm open to meetings, but I schedule my own time, my personal time.
Very similar. My entire family's calendar is in my calendar. So my son's golf match, my husband's doctor's appointment, it's all connected because it's the only way that we can keep everything straight. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. So I invite my husband if I'm going to the spa. Everybody has everything in the same calendar, so we all know where each other are. I think the trick is making sure that you put it in there and you follow the calendar. The other thing is paying attention to what activities give you the most fuel. So I like yoga, I like hiking. I know that I need to be outside on a pretty regular basis in order to be able to keep up what I feel like I need to do to be successful. So I think it's also figuring out what those activities are that give you that fuel and really being consistent about getting those into your life.
Yeah, and I'd say you can't be your best as a leader if you haven't taken care of yourself and to make sure that you have that energy that allows you to plow ahead. For me, it's also a communication topic. I travel a lot. I have teenagers. That might be why I travel a lot. But I have teenagers, and we talk all the time about what I'm up to and how we can do things together, just to make sure we're always talking about it so it doesn't feel out of balance. You use the word balance. It's really work-life integration for me, because the truth is you can't completely separate them. But I think if you talk about it and re-energize and refuel, you'll find that.
Did any of you have any CEOs when you were starting your companies that you looked up to and maybe provided what you wanted to be later on?
Any CEO examples? Any CEOs that you look up to today? Any CEOs you emulate or like what they do?
I think I had a little different path than some, but I just knew that failure was not an option. My family was counting on me, and I really wanted to make more money and control my schedule, and I knew I was an outside-the-box thinker, so I just had this little thing on my desk: failure is not an option. Today, I would say my interaction with the Entrepreneurs Organization, which is the old people that are not in YPO, I look up to so many of those CEOs. We come together in a peer-to-peer environment, very transparent like that, to learn and grow. We have confidentiality and forums, and I admire all of those men and women.
And then I would just say, we interact a lot with CEOs, so I'm sure we're always learning and taking attributes from all the people we interact with to try to shape and mold who we will be. Another question?
Yeah, just to end it, what is the best part about being a CEO? Ferrari, yacht, island?
Impact. Today I have everything I need or want, so today my growth is for impact. I realize I have a unique opportunity to grow employees and help them achieve their dreams and goals. I have the capacity to give back in the community, like to the Children's Home of Northern Kentucky, or talk to you guys who want to do something with your lives. It's impact.
influence, being able to set the vision for an organization, being able to take some risks, try some new things, having that voice, I think is probably my favorite part.
I would say that just being able to, they describe it much more elegant, better than I would, but just being able to take care of your family, time, when you're able to hire great people, they give you time. And you can think about your strategy, your vision, and make bigger impacts versus the day-to-day grind for the whole, organization. So the best part, I think, is just time.
Great, thank you. Let's have one more question. Okay, here.
You don't have fear from hiring smart people. You think in the future this guy is going to take my business?
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I think just the opposite. I want as many smarter people than me surrounding me to make sure that I have the best possible business. And if they replace me someday, that's the way it ought to be.
I agree. I have certain skill sets that I think I'm really good at, and other skill sets I'm not so good at. I can do them, but there are so many people that are better than me. So surrounding myself with people that are better than me lifts me up too.
I don't fear it. I've had it happen quite a few times, and it just gives me another reason to wake up in the morning and work a little extra harder to succeed.
Okay, so I think we're going to wrap up. Jenny, you okay with that? Okay.
Everybody's mic at one point stopped working, but
Mine still works. I mean, Lynn's still works.
oh, it's working. Thank you all for taking your time. I mean, obviously, they're very busy people to come here on campus and be with you today. And I'm sure they'll be happy to stick around for a few extra minutes if you want to come down here and introduce yourself, ask other questions, I don't even know if you have business cards or anything like that. We do have a small token. Well, it's not very small, actually. I hope you carry this back to your car. But we have a gift for each of you for being here today, and we hope you come back. Tom would be back, but we hope you all come back to campus often. And thank you all for coming. Please come to more sessions tomorrow, and thank you for being here.